and welcome to Joe's 5. I'm Sebastian and today I want to talk to you about a new video series that I want to start. The videos will deal with the software engineering career ladder. What are the expectations, what you should aim for as a software engineer, and we will be starting with the junior software engineer. But before we start, let me give you a short background about myself. I have been working as a software engineer for the past 8-ish years, and 4 of that I've been working as a staff engineer. I'm based in Berlin and have been working for different startups of various sizes. That's probably also interesting for you to know why I'm doing this. So when I started as a software engineer, I was quite confused about what are the expectations towards me, what should I learn, how can I progress to the next level. I would have loved to have someone tell me about this, what can I do to progress. So my aim with these videos is to give you some hints, some bits of information that you can take and think about, and I hope that they help you to get a better idea. As usual, take this information as general as it is, because I also have a limited context that I just try to explain, and take what you can, what you find interesting and helpful. So let's start with the junior software engineer. Okay, let's come to the first point that probably is most interesting for most of you, which is what are the expectations others have towards me. The first one is the scope of my work. Usually as a junior software engineer, the scope of your work is limited to the team you're working in, right? The team size depends on the company you're in. So let's say in some agile environment, you usually have a team of, let's say, 5 to 8 people. So that's your scope in which you are working in, right? So try to focus on that scope. Try to focus on work you can do in the team, and don't go too much beyond this limit, because it probably will overwhelm you. It might be interesting to know a few bits here and there that happen outside of your team, but rather take it as information that you get, but not as information that you need to do something with. It's good to know, but it's not really necessary to think about it too much. The second point is the work items, right? So as a junior engineer, you probably will have work items, tickets, however you call it, prepared for you. Depending on, again, the company you're working in, maybe you already have a backlog ready for you to consume, and you just start with something that suits your level, or you are working in an agile environment, for example, a Scrum team that usually works together on refining and breaking down projects and features so that you can start working on single tickets. So the breakdown is usually not done by you. Someone will help you, your mentor, senior engineers, whoever, and you can usually focus on taking those work items and start working on them. Okay, third point. Third point is finding solutions. As an engineer, you're being hired to find solutions, right, to problems. And I would say you should try to find the solution on your own, right? But still have regular syncs with your mentor or some senior engineer from the team that maybe corrects the direction you're going to, because sometimes there are so many options, right? And depending on the context you're working in, maybe one direction makes most sense, and it's usually best to not waste too much time in working in a direction that doesn't really make sense in your context. So definitely get a mentor or senior engineer that can guide you in some way, which will help you a lot. The fourth point is, in your company, you definitely have some software development practices, so you will need to work using those. Those are code style guidelines and how the whole development process is laid out. So do you have continuous integration? How do you do releases of the software, and so on. So you will need to learn all of those things, and you need to make sure that the software you are writing adheres to those software development practices. The fifth point is you've chosen a career in software development area, right? So that means you need to constantly learn. You need to constantly learn and learn and learn. It never stops. So keep this in mind. You need to like learning all the time, and you need to do it continuously. The final point is, you will definitely be stuck at some point, right? And still try to find a solution on your own, but don't hide the fact that you're stuck. If, for example, you have stand-ups every morning, right, then tell the people that you're working on that problem. You're maybe stuck, you still have some options, you want to figure out if they're working or not, and you will come back to the team if you're really blocked. This is really important. Be transparent about your progress or not progress, and then if you really think, okay, now I tried to work on that for 2 hours and I'm just not moving forward, then try to get help. Ask questions, show the team that you want to learn with those questions. They see that you're interested in the whole subject matter and that you want to progress. Cool. So we talked about what is expected of you, right? The next point is actually what you should aim for. You want to progress in the career ladder, right, at some point, so you should aim a bit higher than what is expected of you. And I want to give you some hints in that area. Focus on learning. So focus on learning all the things that are new to you, right? So I can imagine that when you're fresh from university, then you started programming with some programming languages, maybe a few, but can you say that you are really professional with them, or are you deep into the API, for example, of those programming languages? Probably not. So I would advise you to really take time and learn the programming language that you're going to use at work really deeply. Try not to focus too much on frameworks around it, because they will distract you a lot from the actual tools that the programming language give you, but focus on the language itself. I also try to get some things. Try to also go a bit deeper. Oh, crazy. Okay, other than the programming language, you should also have a look at testing methodologies. So look at the testing pyramid, for example. Also connect that with what happens in your company, in your team. There are a lot of other ways to do things in testing. Learn about version control. Learn about your working tools, your IDE, the editor you're using, the command line shortcuts that really improve and increase the speed and you can develop. Learn about continuous integration, continuous development. Learn about how the code that you write on your local machine is then pushed to production, so releases and deployments. And of course, get familiar with the frameworks that the team is using. Okay, let's come to some less important points, I would say, but getting familiar with them and gaining some expertise in them will help you tremendously later on in your career and will also make you more valuable earlier. one of those points is get familiar with agile methodologies and workflows. So what is Kanban, what is Scrum, what are the roles, and what am I as a software engineer expected to do in all of this? Be an active part of improving those processes that you're using on a regular basis. I mentioned earlier that the team is breaking down, for example, projects and features into smaller tasks, right? That a single developer can, for example, work on. Get familiar with that. How can I do this? How can I split things so that in the end they build up to something big, a feature, but they are small enough to work on as a single person, and the information on a ticket, for example, on a single task is enough context for me to just start and get going. Another point is learn how the company works. How does the company make revenue? What are the biggest challenges at the moment and maybe in the foreseeable future? What does the roadmap look like? And finally, how can you help achieving the goals that the company has? Let's come to the last point I want to mention and make, which is how can you learn? How can you improve yourself? What ways are there to learn for you? And of course, first one, which is probably the most obvious one, is learning by doing. Apply what you consume, basically. And you should definitely do that. If you read a book about your favorite programming language, not only just skim through it, read it, and then probably 1 week later forget about it, but pick some interesting bits that you are really interested in and try them out. Read. Consume blog articles, books, whatever you can. Set aside some reading time, because from my experience, it's quite easy to get consumed by all the things that you want to do. And there are so many good resources out there, so you should definitely consume some of them. One hint, which you should definitely try to pursue, is ask your manager to set aside reading time, and definitely ask him or her to let you do it at work. For example, every morning I come to work, I want to read for 1 hour, or after lunch, half an hour reading. This will make sure that the manager knows you are serious about it, and it's also something that you can then show in your performance review that you achieved reading this book. And actually you get paid for not only programming but also for improving yourself. And this definitely needs more than just sitting in front of a computer and hacking away. Then of course the next thing is online courses, right? YouTube, Skillshare, Coursera, Udemy, you name it. There are so many resources out there. You probably have some development budget for yourself that you can freely choose whatever resources you want. You get paid by the company. You should definitely do that. Courses are a great way to do that. And finally, of course, conferences. They're a great way to expand your network, to get in touch with interesting people. And if you're not so much interested in the social area, then you definitely will get to know about new developments that happen and things you can try out, things that interest you. For me, it was usually not about expanding my network so much, but it was more about getting some new ideas that then spark something that I want to try out. So definitely do that. Okay, thanks so much for joining me today to learn about the expectations, the things that you should aim for, and also the areas where you can learn and how you can learn as a junior software engineer. I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any comments or questions, then let me know down below in the comments section and I will try to answer. Yeah, let's see each other again in the next video, which is then about the professional software engineer. See you then!